tuning your gear properly is perhaps just as important as choosing it properly, because it can make a lot of difference. So let's get straight to the first thing, which is mast placement. How forward or backward you put it in the track. And this is a big question everyone asks about it, and honestly there is no formula that works for everyone. That's just because every combination of board, foil and rider with a different rider's weight is just gonna change the dynamic very much. Plus also what you're doing with it can also influence how much forward or backward you want it. And so let's just talk principles. What are the principles that are at play here? The more forward you place it, the more sharp, abrupt and strong the lift will be, and the more backward it is, the slower and weaker the lift will be. So obviously, depending on the rider's weight, if you have a heavier rider, you want the mast to be more forward so that the lift is more towards the front, and vice versa. And to start off, well, first of all, when you are not taking off yet, it doesn't really change anything. Like, you might notice a very slight difference if you move it to the extremes, but mostly you won't notice any difference. What you will notice is that when you are taking off, sometimes you might have this lift that is really difficult to control. In that case, you might want to move the foil backward, or you might notice that you're never bloody taking off, so you want to move the foil forward to get a little bit more lift and see if that helps. Anyways, with the masting, any position you can probably still do, but the thing is, it does change quite a lot. So to make the rides more comfortable and fit more your style, it's definitely worth experimenting. But anyways, from the first time that you mount the foil on the board, so before even your first session, you already have to choose a position, and I would advise to go for the center of the track, because this advice follows the logic that every board is probably calibrated for a foil that is roughly of the same program and of the same size for what the board is thought out. For example, I have a board that is made for freestyle and a foil that is made for freestyle, so I put it at the center and roughly it should be well calibrated. If you have a beginner board, also you are probably gonna go with a beginner foil, and it should kind of be functional at the center. Obviously, if you are particularly heavyweight or particularly lightweight, you can go more forward or backward already, but you might start from the center anyways and see how it works. There are other logics that you can apply to the starting position out of which you want to start experimenting. And the other one, which is also quite nice and makes sense, is to lift the foil from here. This is the center of lift of the foil, is just behind the leading edge. So you put your hand here and you lift the whole thing, and you make sure that the board is neither tilting forward or backward like this. And so you see this setup is aligning the center of mass with the center of lift, which is here. If the center of mass was not in the same point, then the board would tilt one side or the other. And this doesn't actually work in most cases with beginner boards, because beginner boards tend to be a little bit too long, and yeah, it's not gonna align with the center of mass. Center of mass and center of lift are not going to align, and that's not a problem really, because your body weight is much higher than the weight of the system. Anyways, from the first moment that you are starting to take off and you can reliably take off and you can get an idea of what you need, then I would advise you within the same day, because like that you have the same conditions, you should come back to the beach and have a key with you at the beach and go there and change the position of the track back and forth and experiment, maybe go to the extremes, go all the way to the front, all the way to the back, to have a clear understanding of how much is changing. You calibrate what is your preference from there. Talking of screw tightness, that's another really important point. You don't want to lose your foil as you're going. So the fuselage mast connection is actually the most important point, because if you lose these screws, then you lose the foil immediately. And you can see I've tightened it really hard because this is really the most important point. And you see I tighten it from here, but then I go to the horizontal position of the key to have more leverage, and slowly but surely all the way to when it feels like it's not gonna get unscrewed by any possible vibration. And if you have screws here and here for the stab as well, make sure to screw those on properly too. And instead, the mast plate connection, still it receives vibrations and the screws will unscrew a little bit, but you don't want to go all the way. I don't generally tighten them from this horizontal position. I just tighten them from this position, like so, and that's it, because the nuts inside the rails, when they're tightened too much, they will push hard against the rails, and you might even crack the material of the board. So you want to be a little bit more gentle with this. When you don't know, you can start going in the water with a certain amount of tightness. I mean, it's still really well tightened. Like, to take it out, I had to do some force. But when you don't know yet, you should go in the water and don't go for a super long session. Come back before you have lost your foil. Come back and check, or just as you're in the water, you can lift one moment the foil halfway and check that it is still solid. Wing pressure is another thing that you kind of really want to get right, because a poorly inflated wing doesn't really help in learning, because it will lack the responsiveness that you need to really feel the wing and understand it, and also to learn balance using the wing. So the first thing you want to do is check the recommended pressure. Every wing has a print somewhere that says how much it should be inflated. In this case, it says 8.5 psi. And the problem with that is that if you use a hand pump, and I've tried many hand pumps, it's normally not very reliable. The meter here tells you something, and it's likely quite a bit less than what it says. Sometimes it overshoots a ton, sometimes a bit less, but it's not really the most reliable thing. You can still use it to reliably inflate a wing at a decent pressure, but if you want to be really precise, I now use this, which is an electric pump. It's called Airbank, and it's just super reliable. You can really be precise to decimals of psi. And I don't know if all electric pumps are this precise, but this one really satisfies me. So if you are using a hand pump, how do you make sure that you have a good pressure? And it's very simple. You want to do the pumping test. You just inflate it to what seems good, and then you just pump it like this on the beach. When you pump like this, you want to feel that the wings are not flexing, because if they are, then you're losing efficiency. Some of the air that you're trying to pull backward is actually escaping. And right now, I could feel that there was a little bit of that, but it's still okay. So you have, let's say, some range. It doesn't have to be totally stiff like a wall that doesn't leave any air escape, but it needs to, feel really full when you're pumping the wing. Okay, so now we've got a wing inflated at 3 psi, and take a look at how visibly I can squeeze the leading edge here. It's very different. Let's see the pump test. Okay, so this was quite visible. The wing is flexing a lot as I'm pumping, and this is not okay for riding. You can still ride, but you're losing so much efficiency, and for learning is not really advised. This is at 7 psi. This is at 3 psi. And this is at 8.5. If you have an old wing and the fabric is a little bit worn out and it's not as stiff as a new fabric, then, well, of course, you might be worried a little bit more, and righteously, about the wing exploding. And so you kind of have to see, basically, you have to judge for yourself whether you want more longevity or performance. But anyways, it's still totally fine to go with a wing that is not totally stiff. If it's something like the 3 psi example that I just showed you, that's not okay though. So it needs to be a little bit more stiff than that. Finally, for those who want to learn with straps, since at the beginning they just serve the purpose of being like a reference point on the board, and you don't want to control the board through the straps, they should be, first of all, soft, not rigid like these, where you step on top of it and they maintain the shape. And second, you also don't want them to be super tight. You want them to have a little bit of space so that you can remove the foot quite easily in case you fall, and so you can avoid ankle sprains. And that's it. So tune your gear properly, go have a blast with it, and everything you need, you'll find guidance and tutorials right here on Wing World. Have a great day and keep flying.